So what did this dog look like then, Mark?
Well, it looked like the Black Shuck of folklore.
Oh, wow.
Saw it twice, so I was like, oh my god.
That was just weird.
I always used to see a light coming up,
Yeah.
like a headlight, but there was nobody there.
So this strange creature with the hooved feet, what would you have said it was, Mark?
Well, all I can put it down to, it looked very much like Pan.
Oh, it's just a spear.
Hello everybody and welcome to Truth Proof. I hope you're all well and I'm enjoying the channel and the many interesting things that we talk about and the guests that I get on. You may remember that quite recently we had Mark on who talked about his incredible Green Man experience back when he was a young boy, and that caused a lot of interest. And since that interview, lots of people, literally lots of people, have come forward with accounts very similar of their own. So it just shows that that information is out there. Well, in between times I've been speaking to Mark, who's told me about some strange experiences that he had back in 1981, and he's kindly agreed to come back on today and share them with us. So I'll not labor on this anymore. I'll bring Mark in. Mark, welcome.
Hello, Paul. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I didn't expect you to be back so soon, but it's a pleasant surprise. Let's put it that way. When you emailed me to say that, you know, there were a few other experiences that you'd had. And just before we jump into them, do you think then, after the trauma, the head trauma that you had as a small boy, a 3-year-old boy, that somehow opened the door for these paranormal experiences to occur? If paranormal's the word.
I do 100%.
Yeah.
And I feel it inside, you know. It's not guesswork. It's I feel as if something's been awakened, and it's to do with consciousness. We briefly touched upon that when we talked last week, and I think, you know, when you look at the ancient peoples, and their retelling of the folklore, and I think there must be some connection in consciousness, and I think we were more in tune with nature back in the old days.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, we're more in tune with the land. We've not got so many things to distract us and take us mind off reality. You know, I'm not saying they just sat around fires and looked at the sky, but unless you went on a camping trip or you like the great outdoors and you went every weekend, people are detached from that now, aren't they? We're all stuck looking at just phones or TV.
Well, funny you should say camping, Paul, because that's what happened in 1981. So with Terriers Middle School, which is with the schooling back in the UK, you have your first school, middle school, and then your secondary school. And it was in my last year of the middle school, 1981, and it'd be about April time.
How old?
So I was 11.
Thank you.
I was 11 years old. It was just before, I think they changed it to the 12 plus, the exam used to take. So it's prior to that. Our school always used to go every year to this place called Woodrow High House, which was about a mile from Amersham in Buckinghamshire, which is right in the middle of the Chiltern Hills we were talking about last week. And Woodrow High House it's steeped in history.
Okay.
And I think it goes back to 1600, something like that. And Oliver Cromwell used to own this house. And I think it was just after the Civil War. So there's quite a few stories regarding the history, and especially one regarding the Green Lady, who was a ghost. She was Lady Helena Stanthorpe, and she hid her then partner in the grotto, which is linked to my story. The grotto is a weird place on the outskirts of the boundaries of the Woodrow High House. They had this adventure park that was in the woodland. It had it was all owned by the London Boys Federation or something. It was for kids that were a bit wayward and, you know, probably didn't have parents, or so they used to ship them out from London, and they could
be a holiday for them.
Yeah, and build confidence, and you know, but they stuck them on this adventure playground thing, which we weren't allowed to go on it. They forbid us to go on it because on the corner of this woodland, it went down about 50 foot, and you had all these swings and all these nets and a flying fox, and well, if you climbed up the nets, it was really dangerous. And to be fair, I wouldn't go on it.
No,
but down in the middle of this big steep embankment, right down the bottom was what we called the grotto, and it had it was all flint. It's made out of flint. It was like an octagon, had a hole in the roof, and it had all these symbols on the wall. Real weird place. So you never go down there on your own, for one. So we were camping there, so we had tent set up. So there's another picture, it says ropes and in the woodland. So just on the corner of that, there wasn't so many trees back then. Prior to this visit, it was they had a couple of horses in there, because one of them bit me one time through my cagoule. So I had to have a tetanus jab. So this particular time we went on this trip, and it's a beautiful spot right in the middle of the Chiltern Hills, near Penn. Penn was named after the Quaker dude that went over to America. Okay. So we'd set up in a long line, and there was a whole class there, probably about 30 kids, can't remember now. So on that aerial view, you've got the road sweeping round to the main house, and on that road was a iron fence with about 3 rungs on it. Worked out that all the girls were down by near the woods.
Right.
And then it came up, and then the boy, they segregated us for some reason. They didn't want us to get into trouble. So, and then opposite that, there was the cook tent, which was like a big old fashioned army tent, you know, with the canvas on it.
That.
A massive thing it was. And the first encounter, I think around Yorkshire they call it padfoot, or the black dog.
Yeah, old Shuck.
Yeah, yeah. This black dog, massive, huge animal, jet black, long shaggy hair. The thing I remember most about it had a long tail. Its tail was abnormally long for a dog. It was massive. It came out of that woodland. And the first thing I heard was all the girls screaming down the other end. So we looked at, and I could look over, and about 100 meters from us was this dog coming out, and it was heading for the tent, the cook's tent.
Right.
And so all the kids are sort of, and I don't know what scared it off, because it came out, it wandered around, it looked over towards the girls, and then it headed back in. But it was there was a feeling, it was like, that's not right. It's big. It's too big to be a normal dog.
Yeah.
It was.
And was it lean and sort of gangly, or well proportioned?
It was built. Its legs were quite thin, but its body was bulky.
Right.
It just looked weird, but it had this shaggy hair. I remember that, but it being jet black, it just stood out, and it was just really weird to see this dog come up out of the woodland. Well, I assume it's come out of the woodland because I heard it scream.
Not aggressive to anybody, just doing its own thing.
It was heading for the tent.
Yeah.
So it was making a beeline for the tent, and I don't know what made it double back, but then I saw it disappear back down into the woods, into this where the grotto was. and it just seemed really.
And it genuinely felt weird. Even.
Yeah, it was like a real. Normally with dogs, you'd like, hey mate, come up and pat them and all that. But this thing. But that was the first weird thing that happened. There was always a feeling around that place.
Okay.
Especially in that grotto, because there was a chef there, and he was looking into the history, and he dug up all these little boots, baby boots, like Victorian boots that were all being burnt. And it was real dark, and we were like looking at each other going, well, this isn't cool, It's like
it feels wrong.
And he's going into black magic stuff, witchcraft and all that. And it happened back in the old days, but you didn't think about
how sorry for cutting across your words there, but because I'm hoping we can just stay with dog just for a moment. How did the other young children or young adults feel about after seeing this dog, or the teachers?
They were all frightened. Even I remember the teachers are spooked because we were asking them. You quiz your teacher because it's your safety net, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like what and they're going, oh, I don't know. And I remember there was Mrs. Henry there. She was really spooked, and especially the chef. Because you could see that the wheels are turning in his mind and go, well, there's all this black magic going on. I've just seen because you got folklore around there about black dogs, but it was a black, because everyone's like, that's the black dog, Yeah,
and there's a huge shaggy furred black dog. Unusual. Have you ever seen a dog like it since?
I just never seen that, and it's the first time I'd ever sort of been privy to, you hear of stories. I probably heard of stories back then, and there's a lot of folklore around there, isn't there?
Yeah.
But that's the first sort of weird thing that happened. But the next thing that happened was off the charts. It was.
Oh, well, walk us into that one then. I think we're all ears.
So it was twilight, and all the class were lined up against that metal railing, looking. So it'd be west. They're looking west.
Same holiday, the same one.
Same trip, yes. Same school trip in that week. And it was, when you get those April showers, it was. Yep. I remember it rained every day. So it had just finished raining, and it was dusk. And all the kids were lined up, either sat on the metal railing or got their backs against it, girls, boys. But because I was in the N10. I'm on my stomach, and I got my head out the tent, and I'm looking at my class because they're all falling about. And there was this kid called Philip, and he wanted something. And I remember this girl's name, Natasha. And he wanted something off her. I can't remember if it was sweets or something. She said, "Oh, you got a grovel," and he had invented this little dance, if you like. And he's groveling around on the floor, you see, and they're all laughing at him. And as I turned my head, that road that sweeps round where this railing, just on the other side of that road, I looked across and I saw this figure dancing. And I just remember his feet doing this. And they were hooved with the knee going the other way. So he had like goat legs. And his face was real, it came down to a point. And he was smiling at me, but in a real mischievous smile.
So he obviously knew that you could see him.
Yeah, but he had his head turned on an angle like that. So his body's facing this way, and he's looking at me. His head's looking this way. He's got something in his hand. I can't make out what he's got in his hand. He's got his hand up here, and his other hand down here, and he's doing this dance, but looking. So his head, but he's got like a triangle head. It goes down. I can't remember if it was a goatee or it was his chin.
Right.
He's bare on the top, but he's got like they're brown. It looked as if he had brown leggings on, but he had hooves. I could see his hooves.
Yeah.
And he was dancing. And his legs, I can always remember his legs like this.
Did it feel frightening watching it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. The vibe I got off him, like they say about Loki being mischievous and things like that. That's the vibe I got off this
Right.
thing. Eye color, don't know, I can't remember, but his hair, I remember his hair being like the hairs on his legs. He had the same hair on his head.
Right.
Real,
Okay.
real weird.
And
But
did
the
it have
way
horns or anything?
I can't remember.
No.
I didn't see any because I was just transfixed with this real pointy chin. But he's looking on an angle like this at me, and his body's facing this way. His hand up here, and he's doing this dance like a jig.
And do you think he's imitating what the young boy's doing? They're like groveling.
No, I think he was dancing. It's as if he's dancing.
Yeah.
He's having a bit of fun.
What height would you estimate? Obviously, young boy, 11 years old, long time since.
It wasn't that big. I'd say it was about 4 or 5 foot. It wasn't that big. Yeah, if you had, like, the kids are in my eye line looking that way, and he's over there looking this way. He's looking west as well. He's looking, and I'm looking at him. I assume it's a boy because I don't know whether, when I'm trying to think back, I don't know if he had a goatee or his chin was just at a point. But it's the weirdest thing I've had. And the vibe I got off him was like, I'm mischievous. I'm a, like you got, like kids in school, you get one that's always mucking about.
Yeah.
He was like that. He's like, I'm playing.
I'm going to cause.
It was like, when it just gets, it goes dusk and it seems weird, but everything, if I looked at bushes in the distance, there'd be like, it was really pronounced.
Oh, so he was vivid. It was very.
Yeah, no, it was really. It was like soup, and then I freaked. I put my head down, looked up again, and he'd gone. It disappeared.
Did any other children see him?
No, I didn't ask any of them either, because I know, going off what I've been through in my life and that, I just put it down to like, because I thought I was going mad. This grin he had on him though, it's like he was grit. It wasn't like a smile. It was like he's gritting his teeth.
Okay. What do you think his purpose? I know, once again, I'm asking questions that I don't think you're going to have an answer to, but you've had time to reflect on what you saw over the years. And what do you think his purpose was? Just to give you just to allow you to see him, or do you think you saw him by accident? Which was it?
I think he put on the show for me, and I'm going. Like with the Green Man, I think it was a nature spirit. I think he was a nature spirit. I got the vibe, but he wasn't the same sort of nature spirit. There might be different types. There might be lighter ones, darker ones. I don't know. You
just took the next words out of my mouth, because I was going to say, even though you've described the Green Man in the previous interview that we did, and made up of leaves.
Yeah,
and this is totally different with this pointed chin or beard. We're not sure which, but I was going to say, do you think it could have been the same thing, just to almost put it on a different mask? And I don't mean that literally.
Yeah, I definitely, of the Green Man, it was just the height of it that scared me. But looking back, I know it wasn't a bad entity. It wasn't dark. This thing, I don't think it was a dark. I just think it was like mischievous. It was like I can do tricks. That's the vibe I got off it.
I mean,
I don't remember what was in his hand. It had real long eyebrows. I remember that. Like his face. If I look at his face, it was a triangle type. It was sort of. Triangle down there, but he had this really weird grin.
And this is the interesting bit, that you said you could see everything so vivid, even though it's dusk, or things are just get darkening off a bit, yet you could see this so vivid. And the similarities, I don't mean to the alien abduction scenario, but literally this morning, I've just done 4 hours on Coast to Coast on talking about alien abduction scenario, and I noted that I'm involved in this because of the experiences that I had and experienced as a child, and a lot of the times it was in the darkness of my room with no light on. Yeah, I could see them. I could see them in vivid detail. That shouldn't have been possible. So although we're not talking about the same thing here, Mark, you're talking about it being dusk or twilight, the light's fading, and you can see the shadows and the outline of the trees and the darkness of the trees, but this thing's pronounced. It's strange.
Yeah, and it's as if it was superimposed in the environment that it was in. Like everything else was, you know, when you do go out and you just can't make out the tree. You know, I could go out there now, it's dusk now, and I can just make out the trees and the leaves. I can't make out colours. And yet this thing, it was pronounced.
Yeah.
It's as if maybe I was in an altered state of consciousness, you know, maybe I was just drifting off and I was in a dream state.
Yeah.
But you know, it just felt so real. And with the other encounters I've had, and you know, seeing things and orbs and stuff, and I'm trying to. I couldn't just quite make out what was in his hand, but it was as if he was dancing, and I just remember his hooves doing this.
And what colour were the hooves?
Well, they were like they were black at the bottom, but they were like they weren't goat's legs, but they were shaped like that. But it was bulky. It's as if he had leggings on.
Yeah.
It's like his upper thighs were quite bulky, and it was brown.
I'm getting a picture in my mind of. I'm not psychic, by the way. I'm just from your description of those trousers that sort of bulge out, the old aristocrat trousers, and I'm kind of getting that picture in my mind. But whether I'm right or not.
But he had big upper thighs, but real small, like his lower legs
were smaller. Yeah.
But there were hooves, and his leg bent backwards. You know, at the knee.
A hawk, just similar to a goat or a hawk.
But it's the way he was dancing. So I'm showing off. That's what he was projecting. I'm showing off.
If you'd got to guess, I probably can't. What was it in his hand? Was it like a stick? Was it a ball? What do you think?
He was holding something. I just couldn't make it out because his head was here, his hand was here, and his other hand was it. But his other hand was doing something as well. It's like he was doing something with his hands. But I just couldn't make it out, and I didn't look long enough to.
No,
I was like, but as soon as I'd had enough, you know, anxiety, I got scared because I don't know what I'm looking at. And the funny thing is I was going out with this girl, and we'd arranged to meet at the gym, and it was pitch black. There's no street lights or anything, and my mate, he's up for anything. He went off. And he came back and said, Julie's waiting for you down at the gym. I said, I ain't going out there.
Well, I was gonna say actually. So night falls, you're in a tent. How many's in tent with you? Just you and
me
your friend?
and my mate. Yeah, just me and my mate.
You and your friend in this tent.
In a 2-man tent.
Yeah. Were you listening for every sound?
Oh, I couldn't sleep.
How much of that do you think was just nervousness due to what you'd seen, or you actually felt an awareness near to you?
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because you're picking up all the time. If I went down to that grotto, you'd pick up all that negative. There's a lot of negative energy around there. You know, especially when that dog come out. There was always negative energy around there, and it's in the shape of a octagon, and it had symbols on the walls. It was really weird, and a hole in the top in the same shape. In this, so obviously they've been doing something down there. And the symbols on the wall were really weird. It's made out of flint, you know, because in that area, it's just flint everywhere, or that old chalk. Like you had it in your garden. If you slipped over playing football in your garden, you'd gash your leg right open.
It's sharp, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's nasty stuff.
I think ancient people called it napping, didn't they? They would tap the flint and get the shards off and use it as a absolutely incredible, it's almost surgical cutting implement.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Flint is quite hard to work with, and they built that whole thing in Flint,
Right.
and faced it. So you got shiny faces, you know, like
Yeah.
that. Flint's got colour like blues.
Yeah, I
And
do. Yeah, yeah.
so when you walked in, I don't know what it's like now, but it shone it off the light, and I think that's what that hole was probably for, to let in the
Yeah.
light, maybe. Because
And
when you walked in, it was like you had a white. They'd left some of the flint hole because you got that crust around the outside,
yeah, yeah.
and then the rest of it they'd faced.
They'd faced it,
So it
which is
must,
what this napping and got this polished,
yeah,
almost polished
yeah.
surface. So, how many days between seeing the what we will call the Black Shuck or the huge black dog was there between that and seeing this little
It
character?
could have been the same day. It could have been 2 days apart. I really can't remember, but I know that they both happened on the same trip.
I'd made a note because obviously our first discussion was the Green Man, and due to your Green Man experience that you told us about, quite a few people, as I've said, will not labour on it, have come forward. And one of the guys who I spoke to recently said they're all green men. I've never heard of a green woman, and here you are. Not the green woman, but here you are. You're going to share
Lady.
something. So walk us into that one.
Well, there was a summer house. So if you look at the pictures of the house, they've got the main block that Oliver Cromwell built, and then they extended onto that. And they had tunnels going from the house because of that in the war, they could, if they felt they were going to get found out, because these people went against the establishment.
Okay.
So what they'd do, they get down these tunnels and go to that grotto.
And they've
There
got an
was tunnels
escape
between,
route, haven't they?
yeah, a bit of escape. The story goes that this lady, Stanhope, I think it is Stanhope. Sorry, she used to hide a partner down there, but then he got found, and he got high treason, so he got executed.
But just to draw back to the Green Lady, because
Yeah.
your first encounter with the Green Man were incredible. This is different. This is not a
Yeah.
lady made of leaves. This is the apparition, the ghost of what they call the Green Lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it don't disappoint us. I would have liked a green lady covered in leaves or made of leaves, but we can only have the truth as it was told to you, which is good.
Well, the ancients, the reason I think the nature spirit projects himself as a man is because Gaia is the woman.
Okay.
Gaia is the earth. She's Mother Earth, and then you get the polarity of, because I think when you talk about nature, it's all duality.
Yeah.
There's no male or female. But if they're projecting, they've got Mother Earth, Gaia, and then
this male entity, the Green Man, which is a fascinating thing. What I didn't ask you last time we spoke, and obviously I'm going to ask you now, is when people talk about the Fae, the fairy folk, the true nature spirits. I don't know what your views are on the Fae. We've never spoke about that, but there's literature, there's talk that these things can shape and appear in many different forms, and I've suggested in the past, when people go out and they're kind of violating the woodland, chopping trees down, burning things, leaving litter, and then people see things of a horrific nature, such as werewolf type entities and Bigfoot. Wondering if it could be the Fae. Just if you wanted to frighten somebody out of an area, what better guys than to appear as something like that? What are your views on any of that?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think the Green Man appeared because his domain was getting wiped out, because that area of woodland and all around there was redeveloped. We were killing nature.
Yeah.
We were killing his home. And I think that's if I was going to say, hey, this is the feeling I got off it, I think we were taking away his home.
Do you know, I think we've both probably encapsulated what we think there, or the feeling of what was happening there, because you imagine a big 360 or a digger going in and just clearing,
Yeah.
where something that's, we don't know how long these nature spirits live. It could be the lifespan of a human, or it could be hundreds, if not thousands of years. And it'd be horrifying to see everything you love and cherish just wiped out and covered in concrete.
Well, I think we're talking about millions of years, aren't we, Paul?
We probably are, Mark.
The Earth has been around. I mean, we've only been on this planet a short while, blink of an eye. But, you know, the weird thing is where I had that encounter for the Green Man, there's a house on there now. Right. So if there's a ley line or whatever running through there, and there'll be aquifers under there, because you always hear about water, you know, sightings near water. Underneath there, because I remember there was a reservoir up the road, and it was all drawn off aquifers. Yeah, because it's chalk and flint, but there is an aquifer down there.
Interesting, because the burial mound of Willie Howe that I often talk about here in East Yorkshire, and I think you probably know because you've lived in East Yorkshire at one time or another in your life. This is the Neolithic burial mound of Willie Howe, the most iconic burial mound in all of the United Kingdom, I would say, with stories of hobs and goblins and strange fairy folk attached to it. Yep. There's the stream that runs close to it called the Gypsy Race, and the Gypsy is dry at the moment. It's bone dry, and in very hot weather, country folk a couple of 100 years ago couldn't understand why in dry weather suddenly the gypsy would spring to life and it'd just be flowing, and they looked at it as a portent of doom or something terrible was going to happen, when in actual fact a few 100 miles away up country there'd been heavy rainfall and these aquifers underground had filled up and just gone to bursting point, and the first place they came out was the Gypsy Race. So some things aren't unexplained phenomena, but it's interesting nevertheless that we've got this running water. So we've covered these two amazing events. What would you call that little being, if you would? And I don't mean we want to call it Peter. I'm on about of nature, a nature spirit. What was it? Was it Pan? Was it something else? What would you think it was?
When I've looked through, I there again, you know, when I was in Driffield and I stumbled across the Green Man at a title. Well, because of, you know, my experiences, I used to frequent a lot of spiritual shops, like crystal shops and that sort of thing. Well, I found a pack of tarot cards, and on the front was Pan. He was the Fool or something, and I thought that was quite apt. And if I was going to say anything, it was like that. It was Pan. Yeah, I know, and I know that's like a Greek mythology, but that if anything, that was Pan that I saw. Yeah, and for those people that think I've put those words into Mark's mouth, we have exchanged a few emails, and I noted that you thought you'd seen Pan, but you'd not gone into any detail. So I'm thinking this has got to be the encounter. Yeah. Absolutely. No, but he had wiry hair. I remember that, and the hair was the same as what he had on his legs. It was like shaggy and big, thick leg. Well, the top part anyway. Yeah. Eyes. I don't know whether that because he was doing so much dancing that his upper thighs built. Yeah, I've done plenty of squats. No desire to run towards him. You know, every time I think, because I can see it as if it was yesterday. You know, and his face. That real, like it was a put on. You know, when you'd go to school and they say you got a smile for the photograph, and you put on that false smile. It was like that. Smile, yeah. Incredible, really, isn't it? So, out of all these experiences, we've got the Pan experience, if that's what we're going to call it, the huge black dog, the Black Shuck, and the Green Man. Which do you think was the most traumatic or the most impacting? The Green Man, for sure. Yeah. But now looking back on it, and then I noticed in some of the comments on when you posted it up, it was a blessing to see that. That was quite it was an honor to see that. Looking back, but at the time it scared me, like that thing that was dancing. I just remember his feet.
I'm glad you've took some comfort in that, because I read the comments and people saying what a blessing to have seen such a thing, the spirit of nature. But we've also got to draw back to the fact that you were 6 years old. Totally alien to anything you'd ever seen before, so it would frighten you. So I saw nothing wrong with the way that it affected you afterwards. And did it help a little bit then, reading those comments and seeing what people had thought afterwards?
Yeah.
So since the interview then that we did with about the Green Man, has any other thoughts popped into your mind, or any dreams?
No, but
No.
quite a few people have said about Four Ashes, and a lot of encounters down there, and that's really close to where I had my encounter. And I think it must be on a ley line, or there was a house there. I can't remember what Parklands, I think they called it. And there was I used to cycle to work to Presswood from Terriers, and it's a hell of a cycle. But I used to come home when it was pitch black, and I had, your dynamo that you click on your wheel. Well, past Parklands, there's a wooded area that engulfs the road, Four Ashes, and there's a white gate. And just at that point, my chain came off.
Oh, when you could at least...
My lights go out, and I'm freaking. And I remember running with the bike
to get some kind of light. Yeah. So the trees just come over and create a kind of tunnel.
You get those cops.
Yeah.
On both sides of the road, it was just thick trees, and I think the first house is like 100 yards past this. As it even in the daytime, if you were to go through there, it'll be pretty dark.
There's a little village quite close to where I live. You probably know the village, Grindale.
Yeah.
And the guy still works on Bridlington Harbour. All I'll say is he works there. He's called Rob. He's in his 70s now, still works, but he used to cycle every day from Grindale, where he lived, to Bridlington, and then back on a night. And a lot of the time, he'd cycle home. But I mean, we're going back into to the late 60s, early 70s. He'd cycle home with his lights off. He were always sort of, if anything's going to get the jump on me, it'll no harm there kind of thing. If I've got my lights on, he said, and he heard a noise as he's cycling down this country road to the village of Grindale, and he'd got the dynamo, what you just put on, and he flicked his lights on. He says, and in the field there's a creature. He told me this story face to face, and it looked, he says, the thing off Harry Potter, the Dobby, the little creature.
Oh yeah.
He says, it had flop ears like a spaniel. He says it were on two legs, and it looked back at me. He says, I can't believe, and he swore, what I were bleep seeing. He says, and this thing looked back at me and went running across the field. He says, but it were a little naked man, but nothing like I've ever seen before.
Wow.
And he didn't see no genitalia or anything like that. He's just give me this description, and just fascinating. And you just bringing that bike and the dynamo up just sort of prompted me to think of that, Rob's story. But there's more things in heaven and earth. That's what they say, don't they? So is there anything else that you want to add to that before we close this one down?
Well, when you look at the folklore around, especially the children's, they had these people called the bodgers, and they used to cut down the trees, because Wickham was a furniture town back in the old days, not so much now. But they had these bodgers, and they lived in the woods, and that's it. That's all they did. And they used to turn chair legs,
right?
And the stories they used to tell, like all the pubs around there, called the Green Man, like Presswood, the Green Man. The folklore is so embedded, all the paganism that from years ago.
It's fascinating, that, isn't it? These stories like yours. That a lot of times they just go to the grave with people, don't they? And it's such a shame that to allow this to happen, because people have got this stigma that I don't talk about it because a lot of people might never have seen this. But look at the reaction that your Green Man story got which is just an incredible account. It's got me fired up in my mind looking at the unexplained, because it's one I've never really considered. I've never really looked into. So
there was one comment in the 14 Times apparently, and the bloke actually came on the comments and said, "Yeah, I know it. I was there. That was me."
That's perfect, because I interviewed him yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Lovely guy. Well, Matt, once again, that's been a revelation. We've done the Green Man account from a few weeks ago, and now the Black Shuck, which it could have been. And we've done something that sounds remarkably like it could have been what people would call Pan. So on that note, Mark, I'd just like to say thank you very much for sharing that information with me. And I'm looking forward to speaking to you again sometime. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Oh, wow.
Saw it twice, so I was like, oh my god.
That was just weird.
I always used to see a light coming up,
Yeah.
like a headlight, but there was nobody there.